The title of this video is The Correct View of the Moshiach According to Chabad Chasidus. This lesson is being given by Dovid Klein. It is being given on the 22nd day of the Jewish month of Menachemov in the Jewish year of 5771, which corresponds to August of 2011. The first point that I would like to make about the Moshiach is to define what the Moshiach is according to the Torah, according to our Torah, God's Torah that He gave on Mount Sinai to the Jewish people. The Rambam, Maimonides, who lived about 1,000 years ago and was a very immense Torah scholar, and wrote a very authoritative code of Jewish law. He has a chapter in there, which is it's two chapters, chapters 11 and 12, which are at the end of his code in the laws of the kings. And in those two chapters, the Rambam Maimonides lays out Jewish law, the Torah law, about the Mashiach and the days, the era of the Mashiach, what the world will be like in those days. And which actually, according to The+Rebbe, the Rebbe said that we're expecting the imminent arrival of the Moshiach. And the Rebbe said that many years ago. So how much more so now? In any event, in chapter 11, the second to last chapter of the Rambam's code, called the Mishnah Torah, the Rambam clearly, in a very legalistic fashion, of course according to Jewish law, defines what the qualifications of the Mashiach are. Once again, one side note I have to make is that I didn't mention at the beginning, is that this video the copyright is owned by Dovid Klein. Of course, that's myself, and I'm giving the lesson. So going back to the lesson, so in chapter 11, the laws of kings, in the Mishnah Torah from the Rambam Maimonides, he specifies what the qualifications or the requirements according to Jewish law are for the person who is to be the Mashiach, which according to the prophets in the Bible, the Jewish Torah, Mashiach is just an immense figure, and I'm sure a lot of people in the public are very familiar with the tremendous stature of the Mashiach, and I won't go into that now, because the purpose of this lesson is to present the correct Torah view of how we should view the Mashiach in the context of Jewish law and the rest and all the other parts of Torah. So the Rambam says in the fourth and last paragraph of chapter 11 of the Laws of Kings, that if there will arise a king, a Jewish king, he has to be Jewish and he has to be a king, from the house of King David, and he will be very immersed in the wisdom of the Torah and occupied in all the commandments of the Torah, like King David, his grandfather. And if he will go according to both the written Torah, the written Bible, Jewish Torah, the Jewish Bible, and according to the oral interpretation that God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai of the written Torah, which is the Talmud, all the commentaries of all the rabbinical scholars throughout all the generations, including all the different parts of Torah, including especially Chasidus, which of course would include Chabad or Lubavitch Chasidus. And if he goes that far, and then he will compel or prevail upon the entire Jewish people to go according to observe the Torah and keep the laws of the Torah, and he will war the wars of God, meaning to cause goodness and the truth of God's Torah to prevail in the entire world. Such a person is assumed to be the Moshiach. The classical legal terminology is Chezkes Moshiach. Such a person, when he arises, will be considered to be that he is assumed to be the Mashiach, but not with certainty to be the Mashiach at that point. The next step is that if after that, all of that, he will gather the Jewish people from all over the world and bring us all back to the land of Israel, which God gave to the Jewish people, and build the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, the third Holy Temple, then this person will be certainly and in fact and in reality the Mashiach. So we see here that the Rambam, Maimonides, clearly defines, according to Jewish law, what the Mashiach is. 1 second, I look at my notes. In Chasidus, Chabad Chasidus, the Chassidic dimension of the Torah, of God's Torah, it explains that there's 5 levels of the soul, of the Jewish soul. The highest level of the Jewish soul is the Yechida. That means that it's the singular, the one, the only. And it's the part of the soul, the highest level of the soul of each Jew that's united totally in one thing with God Almighty. And so each Jew in his neshama, in his soul, he has a Yechida, which this is the spark of the Mashiach within him. Each Jew has a spark of the Mashiach within him. And then when you take the whole Jewish people together as one indivisible entity, there's the Yechida HaKlalis, the general Yechida, the general highest level of all the Jewish souls, which that soul and that person is the Mashiach. That's the classical definition, according to Chabad Chasidus, of the spiritual level of the Mashiach. 1 second, look at my notes here. So the critical and key question about the Mashiach is, according to Torah, what are we supposed to believe and think and know about this very much debated and discussed issue of the identity of the Mashiach, who the Mashiach is? And I'm not going to go into a long discussion at this point, but I refer you to the tractate, the Masechta Sanhedrin. It's called Sanhedrin, and it's on page 98, the second side of the page, toward the bottom. It discusses this issue exactly on point, and I refer you to look it up and become more learned in the subject. I'd rather not discuss it right now. The next point or question is a very key and crucial one. 1 second. The next point or question is a very key and crucial one. What does the Lubavitcher+Rebbe, or what did the Lubavitcher+Rebbe, or Menachem Mendel Schneerson, hold or say about this issue of the identity of the Mashiach, who the Mashiach is? And I, as a Lubavitcher Chassid, who have first-hand direct knowledge of what I'm going to say, is that in 1985, the Rebbe was giving a Farbrengen, a Hasidic get-together, and he stopped the singing in the Farbrengen that they were singing a song that clearly implied or indicated that the Rebbe is the Moshiach. And the Rebbe very strongly rebuked, the ones who were singing that song, because the Rebbe said that going around and saying that he's the Mashiach turns people off and distances them from learning Chasidus, Chabad Chasidus, or any other Chasidus, and you're not allowed to do that according to Torah. And then once again, right before the Rebbe he had his stroke in 1992, on the Shabbos of the Parsha, when we read the section of Torah called Noah, right after the high holidays, they started singing a song again. And the Rebbe said he should really get up and walk out of the Farbrengen, the get-together, but because of the honor of the Chassidim, he wouldn't. And he was very upset that they were singing this song. So the Rebbe clearly indicated 2 times very strongly that it's the wrong thing to go around in public all over the place, saying and publicizing that the Rebbe is the Mashiach. 1 second. So if that's the case, what should we believe about the identity of who the Mashiach is? Well, the point is that according to the Rebbe, it's not quite as important as to who the Mashiach is, but that the Mashiach should come and redeem the Jewish people from exile and bring in the Messianic era. That's the real key point. And how do we do this? By studying the Torah to the best of our ability and doing the mitzvahs, the commandments. And if you'd like to learn more about the Mashiach, I have a section in my book called The Godly Fire of the Jewish Soul, devoted to explaining these principles of the Mashiach, a limited section. And my book, The Godly Fire of the Jewish Soul, explains the major principles of the entire Torah and Judaism according to the Hasidic, Lubavitch Hasidic view. You can get my book at Judaic World in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. The phone number The phone number is 718 area code 604-1020. That's 718-604-1020.